All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel again. Thank y'all so much for coming over, man. You know, there has been some stories about Steven Seagal. Said he'd be acting way too serious. I know I did a video about him long time ago, but I got this title here that says, "The Day Steven Seagal Picked the Wrong Rapper to Mess With." I've seen those clips where he be like barely touching people and they be like, it remind me when you see those church videos when they walk around and slap people on the forehead and the whole damn church falls down. All right, we ain't gonna waste no more time. Let's jump right into it.
The one move where he has my arms behind my back and we're both supposed to drop to the ground at the same time. You know, on cue, I drop and he stays up, dislocating my shoulder. What goes around comes around, and he ended up hurting himself on the set and was out for 2 weeks. So
first thing he's gonna do is kick you in the nuts. He's like, "Oh, hey, what, you gonna get a cup?" Whoa. He's just gonna pop you in the nuts.
Aside from Steven Seagal, actually really hit stuntmen on set.
He would
actually hit the stuntman.
Broke the guy's face, split his face open from cheekbone to jawbone.
Wow.
I mean, he hurt people, for real.
Steven Seagal made his name as Hollywood's untouchable tough guy, but he also earned a reputation for being a bully who thought he could push around anyone he wanted.
What I say is law. You disagree? And I started cracking. I was like, I thought he was kidding. We were just hanging out.
Yeah.
And he Aikido'd me against a brick wall. Pow! Knocked all the air out of me. I was like, what? What?
But that act didn't work on everybody. Then came DMX, raw, unpredictable, and fueled by an energy you just couldn't fake. So when their paths crossed, the tension was real, and Seagal quickly found out he picked the wrong one to mess with. The Seagal problem. So if there's one thing about Steven Seagal, it's that you'll be hard-pressed to find many good stories about the man. His reputation has tanked over the years with all kinds of allegations stacking up, everything from holding up productions, clashing with crew members, and even facing accusations of harassment and assault. Talk to people who've worked with him and you'll hear a consistent theme. Seagal was a nightmare behind the scenes. Former co-stars and stuntmen have painted him as abusive, egotistical, and downright dangerous. We're talking horror stories, dislocating shoulders, hurting actors on set, and even kicking stunt guys below the belt just to test if they were wearing cups. It's almost unbelievable how often these stories come up.
First thing he's gonna do is kick you in the nuts. He's like, "Oh, hey, what, you gonna get a cup?" Whoa. He's just gonna pop you in the nuts.
Now, most actors and stunt people who crossed paths with Seagal might have gotten pissed at him, but realistically, not many could do much about it. The guy was a big star, hard to challenge, but one person who wasn't intimidated was DMX. And that's where things got interesting. See, DMX had started branching out into acting and scored a handful of roles. One of his biggest at the time was in the 2001 action flick Exit Wounds, and this just so happened to pair him up with Steven Seagal. Now, the set was already wild from the jump. First off, tragedy struck immediately. On the very first day of shooting, a stuntman lost his life in an accident.
We had a stuntman die on the first day of shooting.
Really?
Because of it was just so crazy. On the day one, stuntman died from a simple stunt, cracked his head open.
Then came the stories of Seagal doing Seagal things, like when he threw a stuntman through actual glass instead of the fake setup. The poor guy was supposed to make it look like he was being tossed through a window, but Seagal apparently decided to do it for real.
he put one guy's, stunt guy put his head through the window. Really? He was just supposed to act like he hit him. He actually grabbed the guy and pushed his head through the window.
DMX versus Seagal. And then came the infamous moment with DMX's shoulder. Here's how it went down. Before filming even started, fight choreographer Dion Lamb had carefully set up all the action scenes involving Seagal. He rehearsed everything with Seagal's stunt double, Joe Buccaro, and DMX's double, Errol G. They even ran the fights in front of Seagal and the producers, who all agreed the moves worked fine. Everything was locked in. But fast forward about 6 weeks, and it's time to actually film the big fight between Seagal and DMX. Dion's guys rehearsed the choreography again, just to refresh everyone's memory. Out of nowhere, Seagal suddenly decides the choreography won't work. He insists everything need to be changed to fit his style. What followed was a full-blown argument. Seagal, Dion Lamb, director Andrei Barkowiak, and co-producer Dan Cracchiolo all going back and forth, yelling for at least an hour. Eventually, Seagal stormed off set. only to come back and end up filming the scene exactly the way Dion had planned it in the first place. But of course, Seagal being Seagal, he didn't stick to the script once the cameras rolled. During one planned move where both he and DMX were supposed to hit the ground at the same time, Seagal pulled his switch up. Instead of dropping to the floor with DMX, he stayed upright, forcing X to fall awkwardly. The result was a dislocated shoulder for DMX. He was in so much pain he had to take a few days off from filming.
The one move where he has my arms behind my back and we're both supposed to drop to the ground at the same time. You know, on cue, I drop and he stays up, dislocating my shoulder.
Now here's where things get really interesting. According to rumors floating around, when DMX came back to set after recovering from that shoulder injury, he wasn't just going to let things slide. Word is, during one of their fight scenes, DMX decided to improvise, landing a punch on Steven Seagal that was a whole lot harder than what was originally planned. And this wasn't just some light tap for the cameras either. People say X connected for real, and it created an actual moment of tension on set. But if you thought that was the end of it, you'd be wrong. DMX himself would later throw even more fuel on the fire. In an interview, he hinted at karma doing its work. He said, "What goes around comes around," and confirmed that Seagal ended up injuring himself on set badly enough that he was out for 2 weeks.
Really?
You know, but you know, what goes around comes around, and he ended up hurting himself on the set and was out for 2 weeks. So.
Oh, good.
Now, to the average person, that might not sound too suspicious. Injuries happen all the time on movie sets, especially action-heavy ones. But for people who really knew DMX, fans and industry folks alike, they couldn't help but wonder, was that injury really an accident, or DMX have a hand in it, directly or indirectly? See, DMX wasn't the type to let someone play him. If you knew X, you knew he carried that wild, unpredictable edge everywhere he went. It didn't matter if you were a martial artist, a Hollywood action star, or whoever, you crossed him, you paid for it. And that's why some people believe Seagal's accident may not have been so accidental after all. And DMX didn't exactly downplay the beef either. In later interviews, he kept taking shots at Seagal, making it clear he didn't respect him one bit. There's even a supposed moment where X admitted that hitting Seagal harder than he was supposed to was his way of checking him, pushing back against what he saw as Seagal's arrogance on set. Then in a fiery interview with Rap Dirt, DMX didn't hold back at all. He called Seagal, quote, a effing ish-head with spray-on hair, and even clowned the way Seagal talked, comparing him to some old slave master. Even though that raw, unscripted punch never made it to the final cut of Exit Wounds, it definitely added more fuel to the rumor mill about the tension between the two stars. Now, when you really break it down, the difference between these two guys couldn't have been more clear. Steven Seagal was a bully who leaned on his Aikido skills and Hollywood clout to push people around. DMX, on the other hand, was a grinder straight from the streets. He wasn't intimidated by reputations, he didn't care about Hollywood hierarchy, and he sure as hell wasn't about to let someone disrespect him. DMX's wild side. We've already heard plenty of stories about how wild and unpredictable X could be.
Right.
Ask anybody who was close to X, and they'll all say the same thing. Running with him meant you were guaranteed to land in some crazy situation, and if you made it out in one piece, you were lucky.
Man, to run rampant with DMX, we should definitely be happy to be alive. We was in the shootout broad daylight. That was life or death.
Take Swiss Beats, for example. He's got more than a few wild memories with X. One story he shared is about how they used to hop in cabs and just not pay.
We used to hop cabs. I used to hate it, though. I'm like, man, why are we hopping like a $3 cab?
To DMX, taking a cab was like catching a free ride. He genuinely believed he didn't owe anything. That was just his mindset.
Cab is a free ride. Cab is a free ride. I'm not paying. Out of here. I paid him no mind. That's the only thing I was paying him. No mind.
Crazy,
Swizz
man.
once recalled a particular time they took a cab together, and when they got to their stop, Swizz wanted to pay the fare. That's when DMX snapped on him, mad that he would even think of doing such a thing. But things got real quick. Swizz pointed out that the driver had a gun. That's when DMX calmed down and agreed to pay, because if they had tried to pull their usual move, they might have ended up getting shot.
I was like, I'm gonna pay for it. I don't wanna hop it this time. And then he was like, what, you getting rich on me? He was mad at me for saying, I was like, nah, I'm tired. I don't feel like running, goddammit. Something told me I reached under the seat and the driver had a gun. And I showed X out and he was like, wow. Like that day that we would have hopped the cab, that guy could have shot us.
Then there's the story with Ja Rule. At the height of their fame, DMX convinced Ja to take a joyride in a Mercedes-Benz. The problem was the car wasn't theirs. It belonged to Def Jam executive Michael Kaiser, and the bigger problem was that DMX didn't even have a license.
I'm like, all right, I'm riding with you. Let's go.
Saw this in the other story
Jumps in the car with him.
or the
We
video.
ride out. Come to find out, he stole the car that we're riding in. He stole the car we riding in.
He stole it from Michael Kaiser.
Okay.
It was Kaiser's car. He stole the car.
But X didn't care. He hopped in the driver's seat and started flying through the streets of Miami with John in the passenger seat holding on for dear life. Inevitably, cops pulled them over. When they asked for a license and registration, DMX flat out told them the truth, that it wasn't his car. Normally, that would end with handcuffs, but these weren't just two random guys, they were DMX and Ja Rule at the peak of hip-hop fame. The cops let them off, only telling them they couldn't keep driving the car.
Lucky.
So the police pull us over. Police pull us over, and they like, yo, license, registration, woo woo. X gets to tell the story like, well, you know, this is not really my car. The police said, all right, I understand what you're saying. It's the label guy's car, and you guys took the car, whatever, but I'm not gonna lock you up, but you're also not gonna go anywhere in this car. So he takes us out the car. So now we on the side of the road.
Then instead of calling a cab, DMX stepped right out into the side of the road, stuck his thumb out, and started hitchhiking. A random woman would recognize them and actually pick them up. She took them straight to her grandmother's house.
A random woman picked them up. Boy, I'm just saying, like, what if these rappers had bad intentions? See how easy? Wow.
Where the whole neighborhood came out to greet them. Kids wanted pictures, food was cooked, and what started as a potential arrest turned into a block party.
That's
and then
crazy.
there's Aries Spears' story. According to Aries, he was at an event trying to promote his comedy CD.
This
He was
is
going
crazy.
around asking celebs to endorse it, including DMX, but apparently DMX wasn't too happy about the impressions Aries used to do of him.
I was like, yo, I need y'all to endorse my joint. So I put him on camera saying, yo, you gotta cop my man Aries Spears. I see DMX. And yo, X, he goes, Doug, I need to holler at you.
So DMX told him they needed to talk and led him into a locker room. Suddenly, almost 30 guys followed them in, forming a circle around Aries and DMX. Then a bodyguard slammed the door shut and stood in front of it.
So we go into the locker room, and there's one entrance in and one entrance out. So me and him go in there, and about 27 follow suit. And they make a circle around us. So it's just me and X in the middle. And then the bodyguard comes in and then slams the door where you could leave and stands in front of me.
DMX started questioning Aries about the impression, and Aries tried to explain it was all in fun, no disrespect.
And he was like, Doug, I heard you, my voice, huh? I heard you doing some things with my voice.
Just
It's
like
good.
it.
I said, oh, no, it's all complimentary. You know, ain't nothing crazy. I'm not disrespecting you or nothing like that.
Then Aries tried to pitch a CD like he was doing with the others, and DMX was like, come to my hotel later, let me hear it. If it's good, cool. If it's not, and then he growled.
But like everybody else, can I get you on camera endorsing my? He was like, Doug, I tell you what, come to my hotel tomorrow, let me hear it. If it's good, yeah. If it's not,
According to Aries, what really freaked him out was that after DMX said this, he then pulled out a razor blade from under his tongue.
and what really f***ed me up was after he went, didn't this pulled a razor blade out from under his tongue. I've been black my whole life. I'm not that black. the gift that you have to be able to put a razor blade in your mouth,
Not cut.
talk, move your mouth, your tongue, and you don't cut yourself.
According to Aries, after witnessing all that, he didn't even bother showing up at the hotel.
When he between the razor blade and the come back tomorrow, I never saw that.
You never went to that hotel room. Nah.
No.
Then there's the drama with his dogs, which was a whole saga on its own. His dogs weren't just pets, they were partners in crime. There are countless stories of him rolling with dogs and even using them to rob people. According to Jermaine Dupri,
Dude.
there was one unforgettable night where DMX actually robbed a music reporter using nothing but his dog. No guns, no threats, just the intimidating presence of his loyal canine.
man.
This incident happened during a studio session for the song Get Your Sh Right, a track from Dupri's 1998 album Life in 1472. Jermaine described it as one of the craziest nights ever. In a video he posted to his Instagram, he explained how the whole thing went down. Dupri had arranged for a writer from The Source magazine to attend the session and cover the creative process, kind of like a behind-the-scenes promo. The idea was to show the world what it was like working with heavy hitters like DMX, so the reporter got to the New York studio early, before DMX arrived. Then DMX showed up, with both of his dogs by his side. Nothing seemed out of place at first, but by the time Jermaine Dupri made it to the studio himself, the vibe had totally shifted. That same reporter had just been robbed.
DMX shows up. At this time, DMX is walking around with his dogs. But by the time I got to the studio, the reporter had gotten robbed. DMX basically robbed the reporter with his dog. No gun, just a dog.
And not in the usual way. According to Dupri, DMX used a...
I don't think I've ever heard of a news reporter getting robbed. I'm trying to think, like, you know, you see people in the background being funny because they know the camera's on, but getting robbed, well, I didn't one did get shot, or the 2 people with a dog, man. Wonder if they're gonna get to more Steven Seagal, or that was it.
Dog to intimidate the reporter and make him hand over his belongings. There were no weapons involved, just X, his dogs, and that signature intensity. He reportedly walked up to the reporter, started pressing him with questions, and then told him to run his ish, slang for handing over everything he had, from jewelry to personal items. The dog never even had to attack, just his presence was enough.
DMX came in and DMX started questioning the reporter and told the reporter to run his take off his whatever he had on.
But this isn't the only time something like this was said to have happened. Jadakiss also backed up similar stories during an interview with Power 106 back in 2019. He talked about how back in the day, DMX used to rob people in Yonkers with his dog Boomer. According to Jadakiss, DMX didn't need a gun. If he had Boomer with him, you already knew what time it was.
Everybody knew when certain people was getting robbed and certain they knew it was him.
That dog was so well trained and dangerous that just seeing it was enough to make people give up whatever X asked for. Jadakiss joked that it wasn't even called armed robbery, it was dog robbery. He said it best, to come from my hood, walking around with a pit bull, robbing people with his dog, to doing movies with Jet Li, X was crazy. But he also pointed out that DMX...
You know, they always talk about it's the, you know, dogs are amazing, you know, but depending on who's raising them, they can be very, very, very dangerous. Golly, man. Yes, I mean, Steven Seagal, you know, there's a lot of actors who will go on movies and just follow suit, but then there's a lot of people who will go off script. So, sheesh.
His bond with his dogs was deep, and no matter how intense or wild the stories got, he truly loved all of them. DMX's ex-wife, Tashira Simmons, also confirmed this. She once told a story about how, at just 11 years old, she saw DMX command one of his dogs to snatch an old woman's purse. That pit bull was so well trained, it could carry out complicated robbery commands without hesitation. Fat Joe also told this crazy story once. He, DMX, and Big Pun had just finished a show and stopped at a gas station. Out of nowhere, a guy walking in wearing a chain, and DMX straight up robbed the dude right there in the gas station.
We had a show, me, him, and Big Pun in Brooklyn. And after the show, we stopped at the gas station, and he saw a dude with a chain, and he stuck him up in the gas station. Meanwhile, the whole crowd was just going, stop, shut him down, open up, Chuck. Oh. Like, DMX was crazy.
There was a time a fan also claimed DMX robbed him. After a show in Newark, New Jersey, X and his crew stopped at a gas station. A 21-year-old fan who had just cashed his paycheck claimed he started chatting with DMX when suddenly someone in X's entourage flashed a gun. That's when, according to the victim, DMX himself snatched $32,000 straight out of his hand.
Police in Newark, New Jersey investigating claims that rap star DMX and his entourage were involved in an early morning robbery. That's when the man says a member of the entourage pulled out a gun and then demanded money. The man says he handed over $3,200 in cash and claims DMX, the rap star, took that money directly out of his hand.
Surveillance cameras reportedly caught parts of the incident, and X's crew left the scene in a convoy of black Escalades. The story blew up nationally. DMX, of course, denied everything. He laughed it off, saying he wouldn't even remember such a thing and pointing out he makes way more money from a single show than what the victim claimed was stolen. His lawyer doubled down, mocking the story by asking if anyone really believed DMX would stick up 2 random guys at a gas station. In the end, police never charged him due to lack of evidence. Legal troubles. DMX was also one of those rappers who truly lived that life. This man found himself in all sorts of trouble over the years. Everything from robbery and assault to carjacking to his fame, basically attempting to possession, impersonating a federal guilty to violating parole $40,000. And yet DMX's lawyer...
All right. Because I already reacted to that one video talking about DMX, and now they're going into his crime and this and this. I was thinking there was going to be more stuff with interactions with Steven Seagal, but it is what it is. I guess, you know, he wanted to show his peers that I'm really about that life. What you hear in my lyrics, I'm really out here doing that, which is just dumb and stupid, you know, because it's unnecessary. You know, I just think about when people are getting robbed, you don't know what they're going through. You know, you don't know if that money was for the rent, for someone's surgery. You know, some people, kids are sick. You don't know what it is for. And you out there robbing folks for no reason. And you already got money. And he's saying, like, I didn't rob this person. I make this much money during my show. Why would I need to do that? Why did you need to do everything else? But as far as the title of the video goes, I guess Steven Seagal, you know, with his reputation of what, you know, the B word when you are picking on someone. But I'm thinking DMX is like, hey, I rap these lyrics, I live these lyrics. Because there's a lot of people out there who don't. So, you know, the fact that he didn't back down to Steven, he probably was shocked. Like, oh, I thought you were just rapping about this stuff. And so you're really not intimidated by me. So, all right, hey, appreciate y'all coming over. But if you guys haven't seen the compilation of Steven Seagal, man, like, it's pretty wild. It's pretty crazy, man, how this dude was. But hey, appreciate y'all coming over and watching. Peace out.